So I think this is working. I don't have my screen capture on right now, but that's okay because I don't know how much writing on screen I'm going to be doing today, because a lot of it's just going to be plotting out. And if I do any writing today, it'll probably be a couple chapters of, oh my god, the Billionaire Fantasy, because I don't really have enough yet to work with to do the first chapter of Dangerous Guardian, but I would like to get that one plotted out, so that would be pretty good. I'm just going to set this up on all my pages here. I have this big thing of peach tea to get me going, because there's like no reason why I should be this tired. Okay, we're going to post that. Then I'm going to come here. We'll try doing this live stream thing. I'm not sure how well this will work, but we'll try it out. I'm still getting used to the live stream beta on Patreon, but we'll see how that works out. Whoops. Alright, perfect. So we'll set that up. Well, this doesn't need to be scheduled. This can go right now. Perfect. Okay, so I think I'm good there. Alright, perfect. So basically what I'm going to be doing, say hi in the chat if you're around, and I will respond to you real quick. Oh, hey Willow D, how's it going? Hey Donna. Sorry about that, I was on another page. So yeah, I don't know if you're here when I announced that, but I'm not yet. I'm not going to put up screen capture just yet, because I'm just going to be doing the plotting out. And if I do any writing today, it's probably going to be another chapter or two for the Billionaire Fantasy. But right now, I'm just going to go over some of the names that patrons have added for these suggestions to get them up in Dangerous Guardian, the book I'm going to be working on today, or plotting today, I should say. And I didn't get as many suggestions as I hoped for from patrons. I hoped for at least 10. So I won't be doing the vote today. I'll wait for tomorrow. If no more names come in by tomorrow, I'll use these plus the one name for the hero and one name for heroine that came in from the suggestions from my newsletter list, and they'll be voted on for that. But the names I got on here from patrons so far are really good. I've got Elizabeth Rose Smith for heroines, Virginia Yvonne, Alyssa Kincaid. I like the name Kincaid. That sounds really good. Taylor Vanessa Warren. And this name, they didn't give a last name as far as I saw. I just kind of skimmed the email. But this one came in from somebody on my newsletter list, and it sounds really good. They said, you should name your heroine October, since this one's coming out in October. I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. So I'm going to go over the other heroine names suggested from my newsletter list. I can only pick one, because that was the deal. But I'm really thinking that I'll add the name October on the names to be voted on, because it sounds really, really good. And for hero names, I've got Jarrett Dane Tunnel, Calvin Andrew, Navia. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Navia? Nevea? That's probably. And apparently that means heaven. Dimitri Rivers, Alex Jacob Rossi, and I haven't chosen a hero name from the newsletter list to be voted on yet, but these are really good names so far, and they're either the names of people's their daughters, their boyfriends, their mothers. So, which is kind of what I was hoping for. I was hoping for something, for names that meant things to people. So long as everyone's kind of comfortable with what I might be doing to these names when I start writing them, because you have to remember, it's a book. There's going to be sex and there's going to be a little bit of angsty stuff happening. But yeah, so these are the names I got so far, and yeah, tomorrow, if I don't get any more suggested names from patrons, I will put these up for the vote, along with the one newsletter list name, and yeah, that'll be great. So then I'll get to choose, well, not I, but then everybody will get to choose collectively what to name the hero and heroine of Dangerous Guardian. As you can see, I've got my little different colored guys right here. So yeah, that's another reason why I won't really be writing the chapters of Dangerous Guardian today, just because I don't have the name yet. And I don't want to put, hero and heroine and have to do a control, alt, replace, however it is you do that. But you know what, maybe I never thought of something. Maybe I'll use for the secondary character, because I usually use yellow for the secondary character. Maybe for like the second best name chosen, I'll also add those names as the best friend or the respected mentor, like that kind of thing. So I'd like to add those in there as well. Okay, so, whoops. Got to not add some of these that have already been used, please. Don't do that. Oh, I hear a banging noise. I don't know what that is. Okay, so yeah. So what I'm going to basically do today is fill out these cards, and I should have pulled out my thing so I could put the cards back here, just so I could make like a proper layout of where everything was going to go. But I never planned these out right. It's too late. But either way, I think that this is a pretty decent area to start. So the basic plot, and I was telling Jess this the other day, and she sent me an email after I responded to it, but the idea is I'm going to rip off the idea of Rick and Morty, because I love that show. And how it's going to work is that they kind of work for an organization where you can go in between worlds. And you're not really supposed to do that unless absolutely necessary. So my goal is to find out why they do this, why this organization exists, how she dies, how he dies, and I'll explain the death thing for you later, and why. Why is she so important that somebody want to kill her or attempt to kill him? Because the idea is his girlfriend, who also works in this organization, dies. So he does something he's not really supposed to do, and that he takes, in this case, the sword, because I have the sword on the cover, which looks so great. I love that cover. So he's going to take it and he's going to hop to another world where it was the opposite. He died instead of her, so he's going to find his girlfriend alive and well in this place, but these people are still after them. And they're going to have to kind of get used to the fact that even though they look the same, they have the same memories, they're from literally almost the exact same universe, they're not the same person. So it's going to be that kind of like love story, and I love the idea of it. It's going to have a happy ending, this one. It's going to be, yeah, definitely in 3 parts, maybe 4. I'm going to try not to make it 4 parts, though, because I'd rather keep these books that I do in areas of 3, just so I can get the print versions out faster. But because I think that's another thing that a lot of people look forward to, especially if you're in that tier where you're paying to get a print book. I don't want to make people wait too long on those. But I like the idea of this being in 3s. So the plan is to try and keep this book this time into 3s, because, Vampires Don't Share with Dragons was a 4-parter, and that just kind of complicated everything a little bit. So, yeah, if you have any suggestions, feel free to write them in the chat. And, yeah, so I still have to figure out the name of this place, why a sword is being used, or maybe it doesn't even need to be a sword at all. I don't want to use a portal gun, like I don't want to rip off Rick and Morty that much. Sorry, I'm just like so thirsty. I can't understand why I've just been so thirsty lately. So, yeah, I'm just gonna write down, I'm just gonna have to write down hero and heroine on the cards, and hope. Hero. I kind of hope the October name gets picked. Hey Jessica, how's it going? Yeah, right now I'm just planning out the the Dangerous Guardian thing. I already went over some of the names that were on here. I don't know if you were there, but I've got some that are on here, some from patrons. I'm going to wait to see if there's more patron names coming in and do the vote tomorrow because there weren't enough today. No matter what, I'm going to do the vote tomorrow, though. Got the card and sticker today, thank you. Oh, perfect, I'm glad you got it in. Yeah, because I wanted to give you one yesterday when you said you didn't get it, but I was like, okay, she's going to get it, like, real soon. But, yeah, he's so pretty. I got to order more of these because I'm also going to the WatCon thing. Yeah, so if anybody here is going to WatCon, yeah, I'm going to be there, so it's going to be great. I just have to figure out how I'm getting there and how I'm getting back. I'm kind of thinking about just driving, seeing if that's going to be an easy way to do it. Love your shirt too, cute. Yeah, awesome, thank you. I got it from a Pusheen box, and it's kind of chilly today, so I nearly wore a tank top, but I was like, no, it's too cold. But anyways, right now, I'm just trying to figure out... I can't name the hero and heroine yet, so I just got hero and heroine on their cards. So for now, I'm going to... Oh yeah, and I also decided that second best ideas are going to go on the friend card. But right now, I just have to figure out what the name of this organization is, why it exists, who wants these people dead. Maybe I could just keep it like something simple until I could fill in the blanks later. Like, I need to do something kind of like... Because I'm thinking that her death is an accident. Because there has to be a scene in which they both die, but not really. So to be in this, I'm assuming they'd have to be in their late 20s at the least. Maybe early 30s. I'm going to assume that he's going to be about, I don't know, 33. And she's going to be 27. And I'm not going to put too much emphasis on what they look like just yet, just in case, just for the vote tomorrow, because if I find out, like, let's say Nevea wins for the hero's name, I want to find out where that name comes from, so that way I can keep what he looks like fairly in line. Oh, some of these sound like pretty standard names, but, oh yeah, somebody suggested the name October for the heroine's name. So Jess, I'm hoping that one almost wins. If not, I'm probably just gonna steal the name anyways and add it to a side character, maybe even the villain, because I really want that name in there somehow. So his job is to... Why is it important that they jump from world to world? Because they always end up going back to the same one. Oh, what happened? Yeah, nothing. Okay. So yeah, maybe I'll just call them that. Maybe I'll call them jumpers. Okay, 33-year-old. At least until I get an idea for a better name. Because actually, I think the idea of calling like somebody who teleports a jumper's already been done in that movie, but that guy was teleporting from just place to place, not from world to world. But either way, I'm going to use that for now, and if I can't think of anything better, I'll probably like stick with that. But he's a jumper. He goes from world to world, and maybe the idea is that... Okay, I thought of something here. Maybe the idea is essentially that what their job is, it's just kind of an organization put together. It's spearheaded by no real government. It's just kind of like this thing that people found out how to do. And it sort of became half official in its own right. The idea is that these guys will jump from, like, let's say, present day, our world, like, you know, Keystone Earth kind of thing. But they'll go to, like, a world where Hitler was still reigning, right? Like, the Third Reich was still around. And they'll actually go and, like, assassinate him or something. And they'll do the same thing with, like, Stalin, Mao, like, all these, like, insane dictators. They'll just go and, like, kill them. But what they don't really realize is that kind of messes up the flow of certain things. Okay, this is another one of those problems where I'm having trouble articulating myself. But I like this idea where they kind of like, from their world, they know what's going to happen here, 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 and here, and here in these worlds. So even though they can't go back in time, they can go to these other worlds and either warn the people in charge or just take care of it themselves and prevent, like, mass genocides or whatever. Now, maybe the heroine, what she finds out is that as they're doing this, they're actually, in a weird way, messing with the flow of things. I'm gonna have to actually rewatch these episodes. There's a guy who does a film theory, and he did a Rick and Morty thing, and his theory was that the universe is kind of like a tree that branches off into just never-ending little paths. And if you go from one branch to another and another, and you mess things up the way they're supposed to go, you make the tree shake and crumble a little bit, and things can, like, snap apart. Now, the idea of that is that the heroine could figure this out, that that's not just a theory anymore. She sees things kind of, like, shaking and something's happening, and worlds where she thought existed, like, they'll call them 27A, or 36C, or even, like, C137, whatever. I could add, like, a little Rick and Morty reference in there. They're just gone. Like, they were there, they were in her file, she knew they were there, she knew that they jumped to them, but they're just full-on gone. So it means that the people in charge of doing this are actually doing way more damage than they think they are. But the people in charge want to keep doing this because their essential reward is that they're gods in these worlds that they helped. Like, they're like, hey, we ended World War II, can we get paid, kind of thing. But I don't want to make it entirely about money, because that seems kind of a cop-out. That seems like what a lot of people would do. Maybe it's just the sensation of... Because when you think you're right, and you think you're morally right, you can give yourself permission to do anything. And I don't want to get, like, too philosophical in this book either. I want it to be fun. I want it to be, like, a 60 to 70,000 word book. But you can create a real villain who, if he thinks he's doing the right thing, it's like, well, just because you can't find them doesn't mean they don't exist, right? I mean, yeah, we're going to go to this world, we're going to keep doing this, and... Yeah, so like, the guys in charge, I have to find out the villains' names now. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll just pick some names. No, because people wanted those names for the heroine and the hero. I shouldn't pick out their suggested names for villains. Best friends and stuff, sure, but not the villains. But the idea is going to be that, she's kind of getting in the way. She's getting people, their jumpers, to maybe rethink what they're doing. Even though they're essentially going out and stopping, mass murders and genocides and stuff like that. They're going to these other worlds and presenting them the cures to things that certain worlds don't have cures to yet, like smallpox, ringworm, or things like that. So the idea is going to be that, no, like, it doesn't matter that you can't find these worlds anymore. They're not necessarily gone. We're still going to do this. And she just kind of releases all this information to the other jumpers, and she gets killed because of that. So maybe that's how I'm going to do that. And I know I'm kind of complicating this. I'd rather keep the... It's not exactly elevator pitch worthy, but... She dies in the original world that he's in, because he didn't save her in time. So his thing is that, okay, if there's infinite universes, there's another world where this is happening, and chances are there's one where he succeeded. He jumped in the way and he saved her. But he died. So he's going to find that one. He's going to find her. And he's going to bring her back to his original Earth, essentially. I'm complicating this way too much. I'm leaving this so open for plot holes, but that's okay. I can do that. So I'm going to just write all that down real quick. But I definitely like the idea. I feel like I'm, like, throwing ideas off my own head. Okay, so she's going to be like a technician. That's going to be her job. He's the jumper, she's the technician. Watch me butcher spelling technician. Yeah, pretty sure it's not how to spell it. Whatever, spelling is not what writers do, apparently. Jumper, so his job is, he's been to 5 worlds so far, I'm going to say. Yeah, just, like, give him, like, a little bit of history of doing this. Has hopped. Yeah, there's just so many, like, I could end up getting into, like, some real deep stuff here if I'm not careful, because I don't want it to go that heavy of a storyline. Like, you know, Stephen King and a number of other authors have done this, you know, the what if kind of storylines, like what if Hitler had won? And that's even kind of the premise of Wolfenstein. I've never played that video game yet, but the idea is basically the same. World War II, we lost, and you know, you walk around America, it's all a bunch of Nazi symbols everywhere. And in that one, it's a shooter. I kind of want to get that game actually. And the idea is you're going to try and take out whoever's in charge. So yeah, I actually really want to play that game now. But I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure this out. Let's see. Hitler, Stalin. Let's just say he assassinated Hitler, you know, 3 times. Hitler twice, Stalin 3 times. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Okay, perfect. Oh, and then there's the diseases you could just bring back with you. That could be a problem too. Like if the jumpers are bringing back, because if this is like an idea of like infinite universes, but she's only the technicians are only aware of like a set number of them. Like they're only aware of a few million. I mean, let's just say even a few 100 million, but they know there's infinite ones of them. They just haven't found them all yet. Let's say even she becomes aware of like not only of the are some of these ones that the jumpers have gone to full on missing, but some of the other ones that they've saved are worse off than when they got there, because as the jumpers are going from world to world, they're bringing with them diseases that have yet to be cured. So they're also causing like almost full on plagues to break out in these other worlds. So that's another reason to like just stop doing this. Hmm. Okay, man, I think this is going to be one of the first cards I ever write on for the hero that has only his age and his occupation, but not his name, what he looks like when he was born, nothing. Let's see. And this is one of those times when every once in a while I wish that I'd kind of picked up an astrology book just so I can choose at least which month he is. Because you can figure out like a lot of good personality traits by just looking at stuff like that. And I want to do that one day. So like if I were to make her like a Virgo and him a Leo, I'd want to know if like I want to make sure those are at least compatible or something, right? Let's see. Oh my god, I've even figured out the greatest opening line to this book ever. I don't even know if I want to say it on stream. It'd be like the best opening line ever. Somebody probably already used it too, because of course they did, right? But I just love this opening line. I hope nobody's used it before, and yeah, I want to put this in my next book. So you're going to see this October 20th for sure. When his girlfriend dies, she... No, she can't tell him anything. She'll just die. So like it'll be like almost a random shooting. He won't understand. It'll be one of those things where he'll try and jump in the way to protect her. Maybe he even does. Maybe like the bullet will go through his shoulder or something, but it also go into her and she'll just die. Leo's and Ari's work best. Oh, perfect, really? Okay, great. Thank you, Donna. Okay, that's going on the hero's card then. He is officially now a Leo. Leo and Aries. I'll figure out their exact birthdays later, but this is great. Thank you so much. I love knowing this. So then I could actually even look those up later and find out exactly how their personalities are. Or not even exactly, but just get like a couple little hints to kind of like further it along even. Let's see. His girlfriend dies. Actually, that could even be how volume 1 ends, because I could see that this is going to take a while to open up. I know how it's going to. I know how the exact first line is going to be, and I know I'm going to have to get to the start of this, how she dies, fairly quickly. I'm gonna have to show that these guys are like super in love. Like maybe he even has like a ring in his pocket. Like he full on wants to marry this girl. But then they go out together one day. There's like a mugging gone wrong. He tries to take the bullet for her, but it goes through him and gets her in the heart anyway. And so he just doesn't understand like what happened. Like everything was so perfect. I mean, like after all the times he's killed Hitler, like hasn't he pulled up enough good karma to like prevent this sort of thing from happening? So before he can go like a little bit insane, he's still doing his job. He's still going out to where he's going. But then he kind of gets the idea of like, he's holding this thing in his hand that can take him exactly where he needs to go to find her where she's alive. And that's not allowed. They're not supposed to do anything personal for themselves. They're just supposed to prevent, mass genocides. But he's like, well, I'm preventing a murder here, sort of. I can still do this. So he kind of breaks the rules, but he goes to a world where he gets a little bit selfish. Instead of like preventing a murder, he just goes to a world where he successfully took the bullet. He died and she lived. But it's almost like immediately after the fact. Like he's still dead on the ground even, and he gets there and she's like in shock and a little bloody, and he kills the guy who tried to like mug them. That could even be the end of the first volume. Like when she explains to him, no, you don't understand. I think this was the other guys who did this. We have to figure out how the sword comes into play on this one. Because there's a sword on the cover, and I loved the idea for a sword on the cover. I wanted like a hero in a leather jacket with a flaming sword. There was another set of, what was it? There was another set of pre-made covers that would have been like really great for this, but somebody else bought them, so this is the cover that I'm going to be using, which is still a great cover. I love it. That's actually another thing I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to contact the cover artist and get her to recolor them a little bit, just so I could do volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, and have it like perfectly work out. This actually worked out really well. Like, I didn't think I'd get that much done. See, this is why I like doing the live stream with you guys, because even though you guys can only talk to me in chat, and I'm basically talking almost to myself on a camera, it really does force you to work a little bit. Right, Soho? Yeah, my dog is snoozing. And my apartment needs cleaning. I meant to clean up before doing the live stream, I'm sorry. Maybe the sword is what has the magic to let him jump. Yeah, like, that's a good point. I like that idea. I was hoping for something... You know what? I think you're right, though. Magic might be the way to go, because if I were to do it technologically-wise, I'd never be able to explain how this would work. And then it is getting a little bit too close to Rick and Morty, so... I think you're right. It does have to be almost like a magic thing. Maybe I can even do kind of like a King Arthur Merlin type thing, like... The guys in charge of the jumping, they're not like descendants of the Knights of the Round Table or anything. They just happen to come across these swords, or the people who started this organization did, and they sent out jumpers to do this, to be like, you know what, we're going to, with great power comes great responsibility and all that stuff. And they kind of get, for lack of a better way to phrase this, they kind of get up their own ass with how good they're going to be to the universes at large. They are going to be so intent on saving other people and doing this and doing that they don't see the damage that they're doing, that while they are focused on, yeah, we're going to stop mass genocides, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other, they don't realize the inherent damage that they're causing along the way. Because again, like, even if I were to ignore the whole crumbling tree bit, there is something to be said about, if you just go back in time and, shoot Hitler in the face before he ever really gets started, you wouldn't necessarily stop World War II. The guy behind him would just take his place because the momentum is still going. It's too late at that point. So there's always the idea of that, but I would rather, again, to keep it simplified, I might just do it with, I might kind of allude to that, but, it doesn't, an explanation like that doesn't pull at the heart of, like, wanting something to be easy enough in a story to, like, really root for certain people and to sympathize with, whoever the hell else for doing whatever. Because realistically, if you were to have a magic sword that would take you back in time, like, or not even back in time, but into another world, so you wouldn't even, so the idea of, like, well, these people exist and these people won't, and then, they'll have kids that wouldn't have existed and other people will come and go into existence, that excuse would be totally gone. And that's actually kind of a thing that I think about every once in a while, because I have a great-grandmother who was married once, and her husband died. It was a dog sledding accident, and he was pulled under some thin ice. The ice broke, and I think he was trying to save the dogs, and he got pulled under, and he drowned. And she married again, and she had her kids, and they had, they had my mom, and my mom had me. So it's like, that's one of those weird situations where if you were to go back in time and save that guy, I wouldn't exist. So it's like, that's something that I kind of think about in these cases every once in a while. If you go back in time, you're essentially killing millions of people in the present. So it's a really weird combination of any number of problems that I could think of. But again, the problem of, like, the time travel thing is just erased because they're not traveling through time. They're going through worlds that are still just, it's still just that, it just still happens to be 1945 is all, or 1940s. Like, it's not even that anything has happened yet. So the guilt or even the question of, like, well, you're going to prevent people from existing is like a non-issue. That's insane, the dog sledding story. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I found that out. I felt so bad for him. I mean, it is one of those things, it's like, man, if I were to ever go back in time and I were to see that, it's like, I'd have to just stand there. It's like, you can't save that guy. But it just sounds so sad, like, poor guy, he's just doing his job, or whatever it was he was doing at the time, trying to save his dogs, and, like, it's horrible. But it's even weirder to think that, in a weird way, and I talk about this with my brother sometimes, it's like, that guy kind of needs to die in the grand history of things for me to exist. So it's really messed up when you start thinking about, like, would you go back in time and shoot Hitler? It's like, well, I'd want to, but I wouldn't, because I know that it would mess up things today. It's too late, it happened. So, like, but again, they're not going back in time. They're jumping through worlds that have just that are just still going through this. So that excuse, that moral question of can you do this is just totally out the window. They can do this because they're not killing people who exist now. So, like, that's amazing. So it's almost like I have to find a different problem for them to solve just to do that. Yeah, I always felt bad for that guy. I couldn't believe it when I found out about that story. I also felt bad for my grandmother, who, I've never met. Like, I think she was passed on before I was even born. Or maybe she wasn't. I think my mom said something about that. I might have been a baby. But it's like, I have no memory of this woman, but it's like, oh man, like, how horrifying that must have been for her. It's weird how I can sympathize with some people I've never met, but not others. It's I don't know, I think I'm just a weirdo. So I think that's going to be the idea. Volume 1 is going to focus mostly on him, because he's going to want to do the proposal thing. Everything's going great, and just suddenly it shatters. And it'll shatter again for him when he goes to this world where he did save her. He's dead on the ground. His body's not even cold yet. And he gets the chance to, like, exact revenge on this guy who would have killed the woman he loves. And his plan, I think he's going to tell himself that, no, I'm just going to go save her, and then I'm going to leave, because, you're not supposed to really be there. You're not supposed to do stuff for yourself. You're supposed to take out things on, like, a mass scale, like, again, like Stalin, Mao, Hitler, like, all these friggin' people. Like, you'd want to stop, like, the genocide of Rwanda, like, that kind of thing, like, full-on genocides, not single person sort of thing. Maybe it's also, maybe like the reason for that could be also, I have to make up a set of rules for this sword. Because if you could just go from one place to another immediately, you literally create a world where there's, or a set of universes, I mean, where there's no consequences for you. You become Rick like Rick and Morty, and Rick is an alcoholic for a reason, because he's in pain, because he knows nothing matters. So I have to make it so that the sword isn't so powerful while nothing matters to anybody else. Like, his universe still matters to him. Maybe you can only use it once every 12 hours or something. That could be actually a pretty decent way of getting it done. Like a time limit, like the sword almost needs to power up again, maybe? Something needs to be solved before the sword will work again. Yeah, that could be it. Something needs to be solved, there either needs to be a time limit. Solved. What would be solved? Because the sword would have to be aware that something is wrong in the first place. But then again, yeah, that could be also an idea. I like that idea. The sword itself could essentially have not necessarily a mind of its own, but a perceived mind of its own. Like, you know, like this thing was lost in time for so many years, and then it just came into the possession of these people, and now we're doing what we're doing. We're still trying to figure it out. Like, I'm not saying that it'll start talking, but what is it? Like yeah, like maybe, yeah, like kind of like a sword in the stone type of thing. The sword will only be pulled from the rock by the person who's worthy, because the sword, in a weird way, like, it's never, as far as I'm aware, I should say, because I've never like studied that story, but as far as I'm aware, the sword has some consciousness then of who is wielding it, because it decides who is worthy to hold it, to pull it from the stone. Yeah, like, I like that idea. Has a mind of its own. Yeah, so it'll have like in a way a mind of its own. Like, it chooses almost who gets to be a jumper. Like, yeah, because that'd be a thing too. Like, these guys trained to do this, but how many Knights of the Round Table were there? I'll find out and I'll make that many swords. But these swords have to also choose the person who's worthy for it. Kind of like a Kingsman type thing. When one person dies, they start training a group of other people, but in the end, the sword still has to decide who gets to wield it. Yeah, I like that idea. That simplifies things there at least a little bit more. But I still need to make it so that the sword will have to decide whether or not there's something to be solved or a time limit. Maybe it can be both. Like, because for the other guys, because I'm going to assume that the other people wielding these swords, they're coming after our hero, because he's breaking the rules. He went to a world where to fix something small. And you're not supposed to fix something small, you're supposed to fix the big things, because they can't be going around dealing with individual problems. That's not the way of it. They kind of, like, they're under, like, a code. They're not supposed to use this power for themselves. Like, greater good type stuff. Because, again, greater good type stuff is, like, excellent fodder for awesome heroes and excellent villains. So you can get anybody to do anything with, you know, a greater good mentality. It's awesome. Not in real life, but in a story, I mean. I have no idea what's wrong with my throat, but it seems like the more I drink, the thirstier I get. It gets so dark so soon out now. It's only 6 o'clock. There's like an hour left of sunshine. This isn't fair. There should be like 2 more hours left. Ugh. Not looking forward to when daylight savings hits. Ugh. So yeah. Oh, that could be even the heroine's job. She's like a technician, but her job, along with the other technicians, is to monitor the worlds that the jumpers have all gone to, name them, essentially number them. And also her thing is that she likes studying the swords themselves. Maybe I'll call Leo's sword Arthur. Like, they could all name their swords after the Knights of the Round Table for that reason. And, you know, Leo, Arthur, King, Lion, why not? I like that. So his sword, I don't know, let me know if that's a stupid idea or not, but I'm liking that idea so far. Watch, somebody else is gonna have thought of this idea. I did that once. I wrote a story. I thought it was so clever. I had a werewolf. I called her Kitty. Somebody's like, yeah, you know, somebody already did that, right? And I'd already had the story almost completely written by then. I was like, oh, for God's sakes. Sword name. And better yet, they'll know the swords' names because the names will be written on the hilt or something. That'll be great. I'm loving the ideas. I hope you're plotting your stuff out too. I expect you to get like at least 300 words written as I'm doing this. I'm just kidding. I'm not putting any pressure on you. Oh, man. Yeah, so that'll be how they know. And that'll be how they even make the distinction between Knights of the Round Table. It's the swords will all have the names of the original owners on their hilts. And Arthur, the sword Arthur will be even just a little bit more grandiose because it was the king's sword. It could have like a couple of like jewels on the hilt. And because it's old, I imagine there'd be... Actually, I have to look this up real quick. Maybe I won't be able to get away with doing that because those are medieval type English swords. The sword on my cover looks more samurai-ish. I'm doing other work right now, but it's fun and inspiring watching your process. Oh, thank you. And yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to press on you there or anything. I'm just teasing you. Maybe I can contact the original designer and ask her if she could replace the samurai sword with something that looks a little bit more medieval. I wonder what that update will cost me. Probably not too much. I can't imagine that'll be like more than maybe 50 bucks. I think that'll be okay. And if not, I'm sure I could think of a reason why. It's all good. Thank you. Yeah, I might get her to update this cover then a little bit with another type of sword, or add her to... She might even have to do that. I could probably just ask her to put like a different hilt on the sword. Yeah, I can't imagine that'll cost too much. So I'll probably get her to update the sword. If I can't, I'll find a way as to why this sword looks samurai-ish. Maybe I could put this up on Facebook and ask somebody if they could tell what kind of sword this is and where it comes from. But right now I'm thinking medieval-ish type Arthur, England sort of thing. I don't think their swords look like that. I like the encouragement. You mean the peer pressure. Okay, so that'll be one thing that I'll do. I'll email... I don't know how to pronounce her name. I feel like a jerk. She does Croco designs, so she's really, really good. I love her pre-mades. Her pre-mades are a little bit more on the expensive side. Like, I can get 3 pre-mades from the other lady for just a little bit more than what I pay for one of these. But these are, like, really good. I love these covers still. Like, they're worth it. And usually when she has a sale, I try and scoop up as many covers as I can. I love pre-made covers. I don't know what it is. I can't help it, but... I'd almost rather get a pre-made cover, even though I know one cover that is made specifically for a story will be better. I'd still almost rather have a pre-made cover because it's so much easier for me to get an idea and to like run with it. Let's see. Yeah, so nope, that's not a problem. I'll just get her to update that real quick because I have to get her to update the covers anyways because this one has sort of a purplish red kind of look, and I'm gonna need at least 2 different covers. Nothing different really, just like a color scheme difference with, you know, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. Because I have to get her to do that anyway, so I might as well get her to change the hilt on the sword so it looks more medieval-ish for when she does that. But yeah, so she's an Aries. So the heroine is an Aries. She is a 27-year-old technician. Her job is to catalog all of the worlds that the jumpers have gone to and to monitor them, to make sure that everything's kind of like okay when they leave. And you know what? Just for fun, I'm gonna say they named their own world C-137. Hey, Zoro. What you doing, baby? Oh, you know what? No, forget that. Maybe I'll have the heroine from the new world that our hero goes to, where she's alive, be C-137. I don't know, I want that Rick and Morty reference in there. Last episode was last night. It was so awesome. Didn't end the way I thought it was going to end. I expected some big cliffhanger like the last time, but I'm kind of glad because then that way I'm not going to be twitching in my seat for a year and a half waiting for the next one. Either way, I'm just going to write C-137. So yeah, just so it's on there for next time. So these cards now, I have to figure out the villain's name, and I want at least one best friend. I don't know if it's going to be her best friend or his. Maybe his, because I imagine the jumpers would be a touch more sympathetic. But I have to figure out why Swords would still choose them if they're going to work for the baddies, and potentially, is it just because they don't really know? Are they just going to be following orders until they realize, okay, no, something's going on, yeah, we'll listen to you? Okay, give me a sec, this poor dog. You want a stick? Yeah, get your stick. Get your stick. Okay. This water's cold. I need this. It's got warm. It's not helping. There we go. So the dog has his snack. He should be good. I totally lost my train of thought. No! No! Okay. So, Mono World Jumper has been to. Name them. Catalog them. And she studies the swords on the side. Okay, so that's the heroine. I'm gonna have to have those names chosen by tomorrow. I was thinking that I'd give people until tomorrow to send in their names, but maybe I'd have to have the names chosen by tomorrow, because I'd like to do another live stream tomorrow, but I would definitely need to at least have their names. So maybe I'll put up the poll. Yeah, yeah, Jessica, I can't remember if I don't know if you put up a suggested name yet. You can do that, but if you haven't, I think I'm going to maybe put up the poll by tonight, so you have like another 6 hours if you wanted to put in a suggested name that people can vote on. Alright, let's see. Dies when... Perfect. So now I'm awful at naming. Don't worry, I am too. So this is a great way for me to like get people in on this writing process. And some of these names are really good. I don't know if you were here for when I was announcing what some of these names are, but Just the ones that are Patreon submitted are really, really good. But somebody from my newsletter list, because I'm going to pick one name, one male name, one female name to put in the poll there. Somebody suggested the name October for the heroine. She didn't say a middle name or a last name or anything like that, but I really like that, and I might actually end up picking that one to vote on. And even if I don't, because if I have to go through all of the other names to choose the favorite that goes in, I might just decide to use this somewhere. Like, it might be the name of, like, you know, her best friend or something like that. But now I need a villainous name. Where's my character name book? There we go. Hooray! That's what that's for. Gotta go through all my stuff and create another box of things to get rid of because it's messy in here. Hugh means intelligent. We have English names. I'm gonna try and pick something that I haven't heard in a while. Denton. Are these surnames though, or are these... Cortland. That's good. Make a pretty good surname, I guess. Malachi? Malachi? Oh, you mean for the villain? Malachi. I like it, but I think I've seen it before. What does that... maybe I'll find that. What does that mean? Let's see. Whoops. Biblical name born by one of 12 minor prophets of the Old Testament. Oh, I'm bad with my Old Testament, apparently. The name is Hebrew origin for meaning my messenger, which is fitting since Malachi foretold the coming of God. Okay. I don't know. Maybe that's more like a... Maybe that's more like a secret hero or something. I like the name of the character, though. And after reading that, he could be somebody who... Maybe he could be the heroine's best friend. Maybe he could have, like, helped her to realize that, no, this, you don't understand, this is where this is going. And it could have been, like, yeah, that could be it. I like that idea, actually. Maybe I'll do that. Her best friend is Malachi, and they were working on it together, because that way it's not just her. Because he could be also one of the people who helps foretell the coming of, you know, in this case, something bad, be like the beginning of the end of, like, their great years of, or even their great couple decades of, like, good work, or supposedly good work that they think they're doing. I like that. Okay, thank you for the name suggestion, Donna. Spell it out the way you did it first, Malachi. That way it's not so... Is that the original spelling? Yeah, I'll spell it out the way you spelled it first. Like, I know it's not technically the correct spelling, but that way it's not totally... Well, it'll be obvious for people who, like, read it out in their minds, but that way it's just kind of, like, slightly different. Let's see. Hargrove from the Grove, Escott, Edward... Madison, son of a mighty warrior. Name sounds a little too soft, though, for a villain, but it's also the name you wouldn't expect to belong to a villain as well, so that's one. That actually could be a really fitting name for our villain, now that I think about it, Madison. Because that could be even one of the reasons why he's so desperate to make sure that this continues to work. Because he knows that his own father, son of a mighty warrior, his own father used to carry around the Arthur sword, and he used to go from world to world to world, basically helping to end mass genocides. And that's a good thing. Like, this guy, Madison, doesn't want to admit that, his father was doing something actually really bad for those worlds in the long run. Like, they're doing good work, they're doing honorable work. How dare you kind of say that, my father would have anything to do with, like, what's happening now? Like, just anything. Like, people can convince themselves of anything, so. Not totally sold on that name yet, but it sounds like could be a woman. Villain could be a woman, like. Madison is more traditionally a woman's name nowadays, isn't it? Whoops. There's old. Spelled that. Let's see. Let's find a great last name now. Churchill? Because these names don't exactly suggest major villain, but that could also be part of the point. Let's see. So it could be... I'm going to have to figure out how old this organization is, too. I'm thinking at least it's in its third generation, because Madison is second generation, and it was her parents and their friends who kind of discovered these swords in the beginning. They're too old now to keep jumping, though. It takes a toll on... Maybe it takes a toll on your body. I don't want to go into something like, it aged them too much, but it could almost be like, being a roofer or a construction worker or, a ditch digger. Like, you can't do that for literally the rest of your life. It ages you. And by the time you're, like, in your 50s or 60s, you get tired. And they need people who are young to be able to do this kind of stuff. 'Cause realistically, just even ignoring the whole jumping through portals kind of thing, they are doing, like, hard physical work. They're sneaking up on dictators and killing them and then, slaughtering their way out to safety kind of thing. I have to think of a good name for this organization. The Guardians? Play on the title? Ooh. That could be it too, because then he's not a jumper, he's a guardian. I like that idea. I'm going to put down, just as a suggestion, I'm going to put it in his character sheet. I mean, they can technically be both. Okay, so I'm torn now between jumper or guardian, but I'm thinking I like guardian. Just because then it's a proper play on the title. Could be almost like a nickname. Let's see, whatever. So, well, the organization could be Knights of the Round, some sort of play on that. I like that the Guardian matches the title. Thank you, Jessica. I do too. I mean, technically they could be called both. It could be just a nickname that they picked up. It's something. I'll figure out something because I can't see. Well, I guess I could. You know, like a group of people who think that they're superheroes in the beginning. It's like, oh yeah, we'll call ourselves Guardians because you know the original people who found those swords. Again, they're not. That's not like a government. That's not like a name that somebody would just pick from like a political standpoint, a government standpoint. Like you know, usually you get like a boring name. Whereas these guys, it's like, oh yeah, we're superheroes now, we're guardians, kind of thing. Jumper seems like something that you would get called if you know this was if they were on like a government paycheck. You know what I mean? Hmm. Maybe it's something the technicians call them because they're a little bit more serious, a little bit more focused. Zenon, Keegan, Reagan, Ruben. Okay. I like these names. These are great. Maybe her father's name was Keegan. I like that. Okay. I'm going to use that name then. Oops. I got a pen. Running out of ink. Probably about 65, I'd say, because that'll be a proper age. But he'll have been retired for a little bit by now. So that's a proper age for that sort of thing, I think. He was one of the first jumpers and the first guardians, I should say, and the first to hold Arthur's sword. You know what? I have a great idea on that. The swords could have been hidden in Stonehenge. I nearly forgot what it was called. This could be like a universe where they finally like crack open Stonehenge, or where they do something to kind of figure out what's inside them. And I know that people they're just big rocks, but like again, these are supposed to be magical swords. And Stonehenge also has that nice little legend that you know Merlin put it up. So this would be actually really good. The swords were found in Stonehenge. Keegan Churchill was the first to find them, and the first to pull like the first one out. Other people came and kind of went and did it as well. Maybe it was kind of thing that nobody could see them though. I don't know. Like, this is the fun part now. I gotta figure out. I gotta force everything to fit. That's why writing is fun because it's the only puzzle where you can smash the pieces together until they fit. And also, it would be very Stonehenge is the portal. Maybe. It could be one of the original portals. Like, if Stonehenge could have called it. It's such a tourist attraction, though. I'd have to find a way to make it so, like, nobody's around. Like, they have to put, like, ropes around Stonehenge because people kept, like, carving their initials into it. But, it could be. No, maybe you're right. Because I was just thinking about that. If you had a device where you could hop in and out of any world you wanted, well, you'd be rich for one thing. Not because you could just sell that technology or that magic to, like, hey, you know, random billionaire, I could take you to a world where mermaids exist. You want to see that? Oh, sure. Here's, you know, $1 million. You know, okay, yeah, it's $1 million per hour. Forget even that. You could go into any world where, you know, it's like raining U.S. dollar bills, like, or there's gold. You could go into a world like where there's literally like gold is like one of those commodities that's worthless in that world. Like they use it to make, you know, the knobs on like their toilet flushers or on their sinks. Like it's like a worthless metal, but it's literally everywhere you can get it for pennies. You just go to that world and you bring it back, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to take this to the bank and smelt it all down. You could go to any world you want, and you could find one that'll make you rich. So yeah, like this guy could have just found this. He could have used Stonehenge as his own portal, and he could come back so insanely rich that you're right. He could do something. He could build his whole base of operations around Stonehenge, making it like cutting it off completely to tourists. Find a different Stonehenge no one knows about. That's a good idea. Yeah, because you're right. That'll be like that's the thing that I get, the problem that I get into with writing stories that take place in real settings. Because then I would have to take the time to figure out, okay, what's going on in those settings? Like, what's the weather like? What are the people like? What's the traffic even like? And that's the sort of time that I don't have nearly enough of, especially if I'm going to be doing like a story like this once per month. So that's a pretty decent idea. Or you don't forget, he could have even stolen Stonehenge. Like, why not do that? Again, you can go to any world you want, and Stonehenge is your portal. You can come back with literally a device that will move those rocks with sound. Quickly, quietly, easily. Takes minutes. You load them up onto, forget even a plane. He could steal those rocks and just, in like less than 15 minutes, be like on the other side of the world kind of thing. Because yeah, if you can go to any world, again, you can come back with any technology you want. And he could just set it up anyway. It'd be like one of those things, like, where is Stonehenge? It'd be like playing on the news, like, you know, it's been the 50-year anniversary since the disappearance of Stonehenge, and they're kind of, our hero is sort of walking by, not really caring about that news program that's on. Meanwhile, he goes in this big open room, and there it is. Too late, Donna. I have to use this Stonehenge now. I'm just going to steal it. I like the idea of stealing Stonehenge better. I got to do it now. Okay, so we're going to steal Stonehenge. I need another one of these cards. Stay there, Cade. Yeah, it's proof I have to clean up. It's getting all dusty. Maybe that's why my allergies are so bad lately. Because I'm literally surrounded in dog hair and dust. I love you, dog. Don't worry. Willow D. You could use Castor League instead of Stonehenge. I'd have to look into that one for sure. Castor League instead of Stonehenge. Okay, maybe. I literally know nothing about that one, though, so I'd have to look into that, see if it's preferable, but I don't know, I'm kind of stoked on this idea now. I like the idea of stealing Stonehenge. Oop, who did that? Messenger. Who messaged me? Very original idea of stealing Stonehenge. See, now I can't tell if you're... Oh, nice. Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Willow D. Tours.com, alternatives to Stonehenge. That's a good one. I have to think about that. Because what if what if they are all portals? But like, I think that's why I want to steal Stonehenge, because again, Stonehenge as the portal itself, isn't that what Outlander does? Again, I don't mind taking ideas from it. I just gotta like be just a touch careful. I have to look up on that. Like, if somebody else did a stealing Stonehenge idea, I'll be upset. This is why, like, when I think all my clever ideas, they go anywhere. See your Facebook messages. Yes, thank you for sure. I will definitely look at that. So yeah, the idea of multiple portals. Oh, because that would be perfect, actually. Like, because they might not even know that there are multiple portals, because that could actually be a little workaround to fix, because the idea is, you know, when he decides to not go back, when he decides to stay with her, when he realizes, okay, something's wrong here, it's like, well, how do I get back to my world now? Do I take her with me or do I stay here? Either way, I'm a little bit screwed because I've got Arthur's sword here and it can only take me back to the portal, but these other little Stonehenges that you sent me here, they could be other portals that they didn't even know about because they only took Stonehenge. They didn't take these other ones. Oh, this is beautiful. I'm liking this. I'm really liking this. This is going to be one of those books, though, that for real, even though I'm going to, like, get a couple of monuments and stuff in there, I'm going to be, like, so bad with, like, getting the roads down right. Or maybe I could just set it in, like, in a universe where it's so far futuristic that it wouldn't matter. The towns and villages around these areas, the roads, nothing will look the same anyway. Because Nora Roberts kind of gets away with that with her J.D. Robb books. It's all set so far in the future that, you know, well, not so far, but far enough that she can get, like, a lot of the computers to do things that they can't now anyway. Doesn't matter if it's been done, that happens all the time. Yours will have a spin on it, and it will be new to me, lol. Thank you, Jessica. I for real don't know what's wrong with my throat. I can't stop drinking. But yes, so I'm gonna use these for that now because they were going to be for, well, maybe this one will be for the friend, but they're both yellow, but yeah, this one will be for location. Actually, now that I remember it, green was supposed to be for location. Too late. Yeah, maybe I'll get another green one, actually. Oops. Oh, I have my little Cade figure. I took him out of the box because I couldn't resist. Oh yeah, by the way, before I forget, I meant to announce this later. These are just like cute little items that I got when I went to my trip to BC to visit my dad and my grandmother. When I was on like the ferries and getting cute little trinkets to bring home and stuff, I grabbed this little coin purse from British Columbia. It's all nice and flat, but it opens up really sweet. And this friendship bracelet. I didn't make this one. I got this one in British Columbia again. These are just going to be little randos that I will put in 2 random packages that will go out with the print books when I get them for Vampires Don't Share with Dragons. So 2 random people are going to be getting these. I'm going to do something. I'm going to like turn the packages around so I can't see the names on the addresses, and I'll just choose which ones they get slipped into. So I thought those were kind of cute. I meant to say that, you know, somebody's going to be getting these very soon, but I kept forgetting, so I want to do that now before I forget. You stay away from my bed. Yeah, you don't get to come near my bed. Where are you? Yeah, I think it's just still that time of year where everybody's sick. I don't know what's wrong. But it's almost getting to the point where I'm looking forward to the first frost to get here, so it'll finally kill all of the ragweed, because this is getting unbearable. Okay, so I got another green one. Stonehenge and Castor League, is that what we said it's called? Castor League Rock? I like this. Okay, so Stonehenge will be the original Stolen Portal, and then Castor League. Castor League? Castor League? Okay, perfect. So I like that. So these will be the areas, and I'm gonna keep Stonehenge. I'm just gonna make the location like some random area. It could even be actually nearby the actual original area, but it'll be in like this large official looking building and just kind of like this dome-ish area where it can fit, where they can run all this kinds of electricity and nothing will matter. This little piece of hair just keeps popping out. And yeah, so these will be the original portals. I like this idea. Ooh, it's all coming together. Sorry, I have to scratch my throat. Okay, so we have our villains, because the one is going to be the girl who's currently running. She'll be like the director of the whole Knights of the Round organization, and her father will be one of the original people. He'll be the guy who actually stole Stonehenge. Ley lines. Yeah, something like that. Hey Renee, how's it going? We're just getting our locations and our characters together. I'm going to have to find out what area of England these places are in. Because then, if I'm going to steal Stonehenge, I want to make sure it's at least, you know, a couple of hours away from the original place. And how far away Casterly will be from that stolen location and the area Stonehenge originally used to be in. I have to think of some names of at least 2 or 3 of the other guardians, because I want to be able to recognize them. Like, who are they? So somebody will have Lancelot's sword. Somebody will have Tristan's sword. And the person who had Galahad's sword. Okay, I'm gonna need the yellow one. Never be without them, kids. Look at how dark it's getting in my apartment already, and the sun is still kind of up. That's actually something I should pick up for that, like those umbrella things with the white umbrella things, the lights. I need to get some of those. There's a place I can get them for cheap. Should probably grab some of those at some point. Just so I can do this more comfortably at night, because a lot of these live streams are going to be, well, the farther into the year it gets, they're going to be into the nighttime. Okay, so sword Tristan. Sword. How do you spell Galahad? Oh man. Here we go. Percival, Bors the Younger, Lamorak, Kay. There we go. I should probably write down all of them just so I don't forget. Other knights is listed as being Knights of the Round Table. Oh yeah, well, it's a long story. I guess they would have been replaced at some point, and other people. Sir Ector. I thought he was the bad guy in, well, in the Disney version, but whatever. You know what? I'm going to write them all down. These characters might not necessarily appear, or if they do, it might just even be in passing, but I'd rather have their names and their swords listed just so I could keep track of that. And then once I get started, I'll put the names and the swords. I'll start importing these into Scrivener just to make sure it's all nice and easy. Let's see, sword. Gawain. Geraint. I don't know how to pronounce that. Geraint. How many of them are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of them. Holy God. I thought there was only 12 for some reason. Lamorak. Okay. I'm gonna need more cards. You know what? I'm a dummy. I should have just put all these on one. Whatever. Do that later. Bedivere. Oh, geez, Zoro. What? Who's out there on your property? Harris. I think I already have Tristan on here. Yeah, I already have Tristan. Palamedes. Okay. Okay, so at least on this card, these will be the guys who will for sure just be in passing. Oops, got another message. Yeah, I didn't need to waste all these cards filling out the names of them all. It's kind of a waste. But I can just reuse them. I'll just ignore some of those on there later. Those were the maybe descendants of the original knights. Possibly, but I was thinking that, like, maybe that was the original use, but I was thinking that could possibly get a little bit too complicated because at some point I would rather it was just chosen by who was worthy, not necessarily who was descendant. Some of them could be. That could even be like a rumor that's going around. Maybe I'll put that in as like an either confirm or deny sort of thing. I like the idea. Hmm. What was that? What Zoro? Okay, I don't know what that was. What babies? Like, I'm not opposed to the idea. It's just I don't want it to be entirely descendants. Because the idea is that this is the third generation of Guardians doing this. They're not bringing in their relatives at that point. They're bringing it. They're just searching for people the swords will individually say are worthy. What? I look like I'm about to punch my dog. No, I wouldn't even do that. Yeah, I think that might be complicating a little bit too much just because of how old I made this. I would rather it was just at that point worthy. Like almost it was almost as if the descendants died out. What are you doing? What are you doing? I got a lot going here so far. Yes. Mostly because I insisted on writing down each individual sword name. So it's mostly yellow in there. One blue for the hero, one pink, red-ish for the heroine. Green for Stonehenge, green for the villain, and maybe Sword Galahad will be maybe Sword Galahad will be for the hero's best friend. Plus, some may not have had descendants. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too. Like, I don't know the story of King Arthur that well, but wasn't it that there was no heir to England for a while, so the sword looked for somebody who was worthy to rule, and that just happened to be Arthur. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that, but I like the idea that the swords just choose who's worthy, like who who embodies the spirit of these people. Even like the noble, let's go out and search for something meaningful kind of spirit. I know that in the end, some of them kind of like screwed each other over a little bit. Like, what was it? Lancelot stole Arthur's woman, kind of thing, and isn't Galahad Lancelot's son? I don't know, whatever. But yeah, there is that. Some might not have had descendants, but it just plays it. It just makes it a little bit smoother. I find if I can have it so that this was the way it's been working ever since the swords were found. The original people might have, and even again, the villain. Where is he? Keegan Churchill. He might have been perfectly worthy to hold Arthur's sword when he found it, and when he decided to form, Knights of the Round, and to do this whole thing. But things change, and he changed. So it could even be one of those things where in book 3, he gets a hold of the hero's sword, his original sword, Sword Arthur, and it won't blaze fire for him because he's no longer worthy. Like, he's changed too much. So you can be a person can be worthy, but they can also be not worthy depending on just circumstance, opinions changing, what they've done with the power they were given, kind of thing. I'm gonna try and keep going for as long as I can, but I think I might end up calling this quits a little bit early because I can't talk too much more anymore. My throat hurts too much. But I like this. I like this idea too much. This is why I love doing live streams with you guys, because it's so much fun to like find out where everything is going, and to make sure that everything just kind of fits nicely in place. But yeah, I want to find out a good name for Sword Galahad. I might keep his name kind of secretish as well, kind of like the top best name chosen will be the hero's name, but maybe like the second most popular one I'll choose for Sword Galahad's holder. But after that, I'll just kind of like make up a couple of names to go with it. But yeah, my throat hurts too much. I can't talk too much longer, you guys. So I'll keep going for a little bit longer, maybe another 10, 20 minutes. I'll try and make it to 7:15, but I'm gonna call it quits a little bit sooner than I meant to, because it hurts too much right now. I'm sorry. Yeah, and then I'll let the dog out for his pee break too, wherever he went. But Sword Galahad's holder, he could be a younger guy too. He could be. Sounds good. Thanks for understanding. He could be, like also kind of a youngerish type guy. Maybe he's even like fairly young as well. Like he could be like 24 or 25, because again, like he could just have, they don't have to be like mature guys that do this. Also, the younger you are, the more likely you are to sort of agree with the boss and his way of thinking about this. Have some tea with honey and rest. No, that's the thing. Like I'm tired, but I'm not like that kind of tired. It's weird. I don't know what this is, because I was feeling fine yesterday when we went to Orwell, and I thought it was great. Like I was over my sickness completely, and I wake up today. I took some pills, so I don't know. It's just right now it's just the throat hurting. But yeah, I will. I luckily have some honey and some tea, and yeah, I'll drink some of that after I'm done with this. Yeah, maybe I'll pick him as being like, I think Sword Galahad will be 24, because then he's more prone to. I think that'll make him a little bit more prone to see things in Madison's point of view. Like a younger person will want to just immediately rush to help other people. They won't necessarily either be able to or want to stop to realize that yes, you could be doing really good things, but something bad is still going to happen because of that. Like he might not at that age. He might not necessarily be prone to either believe or to want to hear that. Look, you killed Hitler 15 times, but you also brought an incurable, horrible disease that killed 12 million people each. Like, you did worse than the Holocaust by going to those places anyway. Because what was it? World War II, polio hadn't been cured yet by then, right? What was a... I'll have to look into the time of that, because I know polio was... The cure for polio was like a really great thing. Like, that guy, he gave that cure away for free, I believe. So people, every once in a while, I'll see like a tribute to him. And I think that was after World War II that he did that. He gave the cure away for free. So, like, what if something you do inadvertently during World War II prevents that guy from existing? Or anything, you know? Like, again, like, just so many messed up ways you can go down this rabbit hole. But yeah, he's going to be, like, 24. Maybe he's, like, the type of guy who likes lifting weights. So, you know, if he's not on your team, it's not very good. Let's see. 24 years old, likes lifting weights. Like, he's a good guy. I don't want to make him an enemy, but everybody who holds a sword from the Knights of the Round, everyone who's like a guardian is there for like a specific reason. And they do really good things. So it will take a lot to convince them, no, you can't kill Hitler anymore. Like, imagine trying to tell somebody that, you know? So these aren't bad guys. Like, that's not the point I'm trying to get across here. It's just they will be bad in the first couple of books because they're going to be chasing after the hero and heroine because they were just ordered to. You know, like, this guy broke the rules. He went to another world and, you know, he killed this other version of himself. You know, like, some weird lie like that. It'll be great. Let's see. So he'll be 24 years old. So the other guy, give me another one. Who's the other one? Maybe we'll do Percival. Kind of like a fun nod to... Oh my god. I'm blanking on that book again. Ready Player One, because Ready Player One had a character named Percival, and it was spelled differently, but... So that'll be a nod to that. I loved that book, so instead of, like, choosing another one of the obvious ones, like Lancelot, I'll choose Sword Percival, and the guy who will carry that. So he'll be another young-ish type of guy, maybe 25 or even 23. Like, people who are, like, fresh out of college even, you know? Because again, like, when you're college age, you want to change the world, you want to help everybody. But they can't all be that young because, you know, the hero, he's like 33, so clearly he's been doing this for a while. That could be another thing, like, the younger guys even look up to him, so that could be a bit of a doubting factor. He could ask them things like, do you really think I'd go into another world to kill myself to take his place with the woman I love? Like, does that sound like me? Sorry. So, Sword Percival for sure. 25. And this guy could be like a comic book lover. Like, he could be into, you know, superheroes. So what he's doing is pretty superheroic. I'm hearing stuff outside. Loves Superman. So the guy holding Sword Percival. And I'll have to think of a name for this guy because I can't use everybody's names on the original one, but... So the hero, the heroine, and the guy holding Sword Galahad. I'll choose... Oh, I won't choose. I'll get their names on the vote. Sword Percival, I'll find his name in here. Ooh, maybe Sword Percival can have like a... Jewish/German ancestry, so like that guy, imagine telling that guy not to kill Hitler. Like, that'd be like your favorite pastime, wouldn't it? Let's see. see. Derek, Dutch, Berg, Baldrick. Ernest? That's a good one. I like that name. Bruno. Oh, you know what? I don't know if it's gonna what I want's gonna be in here. I'm probably gonna have to look up Jewish names. So I'll look up that one real quick. Oh, Jewish male names is what I want. Or names for men and women, like, do they have that? There we go. Oh yeah, Hebrew boys' names. Okay, oops. No, this is not an exhaustive list. Many Hebrew names have slight variations, and other less common names do not appear on this list. Okay, well, let's see if we can find something. Guys, what's your lucky letter? What letter should I start off with first? Ephraim, Ezra, Gad, Gershon, Gil, Eser, Levi. Levi means one who accompanies or attends, alluding to the Levites' role as servants in the Holy Temple. Levi appears in the Bible as one of the 12 tribes, the son of Jacob and Leah. Pretty good one. Is this a good guy, bad guy? This will be a good guy. W. Okay, perfect. Because, yeah, no, the guys holding the swords, they're not bad. They actually are good guys. They just don't realize that what they're doing is essentially hurting things in the long run, and they don't realize that, you know, they're essentially being tricked. Like, I want the guys holding the swords to be the good guys, for the most part. Like, you know, maybe I will have to deal with, like, some of these guys who just will not believe. It's like, no, you can't tell us that, you know, all those times I killed Stalin, all those times I killed Hitler, all those times I prevented the genocide of Rwanda, or, you know, the Young Turks from killing the Armenians. You can't tell us that every time we did that, we were causing more damage than we were fixing. I could totally see that as being a problem for some of these guys who will just refuse to believe it. But, and maybe they would even defend the Knights of the Round organization, some of them. But Percival and who else I use Galahad? Yeah. They're going to be the first two people who will come to our hero's side and be like, yeah, maybe there's something wrong here. The others are going to be harder to convince. But so far, I can't see any of them being bad, because they're still holding those swords. Those swords are still saying you are worthy. Like, it's going to be proof that they're good, by the fact that they can still use and hold those swords. So, Gidon means mighty warrior. Ariel means line of God. Oh yeah, maybe that. I've heard Ariel used as a man's name before. It's a good idea. Madad means friend. Okay, I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. So far, that one's the winner. I like that. That's like a... But is it a Hebrew name? Like, because that's specifically what I'm looking for here for the guy who's holding Percival's sword. That's the only thing I want to make sure gets in there. You know? Nathaniel means gift of God. I like Ariel. Let me just look this up. Is Medad a Hebrew name? Eldad, thus meaning God, and brother of Eli. And who is my father's brother? So Eldad and Medad even. Means, oh, it also means to love in Hebrew. In the Old Testament, Medad is one of the elders who prophesied in the camp of the Israelites after the flood from Egypt. Okay, perfect. Yes, it's one. Sorry, it's ones that I'm stating are Hebrew names. Okay, perfect. You know what? I might go with that one then because it means to love, and you said it means friend. That might be perfect then. So I might go with that. So I'll just pick like a good last name for him. Let's see. Hebrew surnames. The first one that comes up is Aaron's. Good enough. I will choose that one. Well, at least until I get something better, but... Aaron's son? Yeah, maybe that one. Okay, so perfect. So we have Medad, Aaron's son, 25 years old. He loves Superman. He's a big comic lover. He's going to hold Sword Percival, and he's going to be one of the first two people who come to the side of the hero when they try to explain to him, no man, sorry, you can't do this anymore. Like, something's going on here. Because then it gets to be kind of like one of those things of, I'm almost out of water already. Because how much death would it take before... Because people who are in charge do the ends justify the means thing all the time. You can't blame somebody who's in charge for that. You can blame an individual who's in charge for that because they will do individual acts of like things that are wrong without any authority. But how much ends justify the means stuff would you have to put up with in order to say you can't go back and kill Hitler anymore? Like, how many worlds would have to disappear before you would go, okay, us saving those 6 billion people here, those 12 million people here, that 100 million people there? How many times is that worth it before you go, okay, this world lost 6 billion here, that world lost 4 billion there? So that would have to happen at, like, maybe even just a couple of times before you go, we can't do this anymore. Like, we have to stop using these swords and these portals. Maybe you'd only have to have, like, 3 worlds missing in order to do that. Like, 3 worlds wiped off the face of existence. Because that's 3 worlds, again, if 1940s, how many billions of people were alive then? It was like 4 billion or something? Maybe 3? But again, how many billions of people do you have to save to make up for that? And how many times are you going to risk something like that happening? You know, this could be one of those pretty neat things where the hero and heroine kind of figure out that, you know, these ends don't justify the means at this point. Like, that's too many deaths. Even if we've saved more people than have been wiped out of existence, it's still too many. I mean, great, like, we've saved, you know, 7, like, how many would you have to save? We've saved 15 billion people all the times that we've done this, but, you know, 9 billion are gone. Like, what's the point at that rate? And those are only the ones we know about, kind of thing. What are you doing? Okay. Well, I meant to be on for a lot longer than this, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to cut it quits now, but this was a lot of fun. We got, like, a lot done. And I'm really convinced that tomorrow when I get the vote in, I'll be able to do, like, some legit writing on this. But one innocent death is too many. No, yeah, and you're right. But the problem is that's not how people in charge think of it. When the higher up you go, the more the people down below turn into a number. That's not an evil thing. That's not a good thing. It's just it's just nature. It's how it reacts, unfortunately. So it's like, again, it's kind of like, you know, the President of the United States. At any point, forget the one that we have now, every time they go to war, every president that you will ever elect, you're giving that person, you're saying that this guy is going to kill people. And they're going to do it for, like, the sake of making things safer for their soldiers, for your citizens, for that. No innocent death is acceptable ever, but you kind of give the guys at the top permission to sleep at night for the few that they, for even, like, the couple thousand that they do kill, because they inevitably will. So, like, again, that's not an evil thing. You're not evil for having to think that way. It's just the way it is. So the guys in charge of, like, Knights of the Round, they're going to be going, you know, well, this is kind of okay. I'm excited for this story. Thank you, Jessica. Oh, I'm excited for it too. This might be one of the smarter things I've ever done, so hopefully I don't mess it up, but there's a lot of, like, little things I've put in here that are, like, super delicate, so I didn't mean to even do that, but that's apparently where that's going to go. So I'm going to try and keep it, again, as short and as simplified as I can, but while still adding in a couple of these other things, because, like what Donna said, it's like, yeah, it's not acceptable, but, you know, people in charge of these big organizations that get stuff done, they still do it. And they're not necessarily evil for doing it, it's just you can't help it at a certain point. So that's why I like the idea of, like, this villain and these Knights of the Round still willing to fight for it until they kind of get it through their heads that, yeah, we can't do this anymore. Oh my god, that was hard. Okay. So, I'm so sorry I have to leave early, guys. I know it's only been like 2 hours. I would rather be on for 3 or 4. But I'm going to let the dog out now, and I'm going to do what Jessica said and drink some tea. Because maybe it's even all the talking that's making it worse, because it wasn't nearly this bad when I first started. Get some zinc lozongs for your throat. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste that because I don't know what that is. Ciao, get better soon, and give Zora a snuggle for me. I definitely will. He deserves his hugs and snuggles. He's been very good. He's very quiet. Where did he go? Probably over there. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I will try to be on tomorrow, and I'll try to stay on longer tomorrow. So, probably about the same time, maybe 5 p.m. And I'll see you guys later, and we'll do some live writing. And live writing will probably be better, because that's me less talking and more writing on screen. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye. Feel better. Thank you, Jessica.